Welcome to your Magical Life podcast,
a sacred space to explore, create, and manifest more magic into your daily life.
I'm Crystal, homeschool mom to 2 wildlings and lover of all things witchy and magical.
And I'm Ash, your resident art witch and priestess, helping you trust your intuition through art and divination.
Hey Ash, how are you? How's your summer been going?
I'm doing good. Summer has been fun and crazy, and we've been kind of all over the place, and I have no idea where half of it is going.
I know, the wheel keeps turning. I mean, we keep saying that, but time marches on whether we are ready or not. And here we are finding ourselves celebrating another Sabbath, one of the 8 Sabbats of the year, Lu-NAS-sa.
Yeah. Here we are again at the next one. Time is going really fast during the summer.
Yes, we did our last episode, the summer solstice, and that was on June 21st. And now August 1st is the next period. And so this is the halfway point actually between summer and autumn, summer and fall. So it's kind of that shift in seasons. It's not fall yet, it's still summer, but we can feel, do you feel that? Like summer's ending, I need to get all these fun activities in, before the kids go back to school, before we move into fall? Or are you ready for fall?
Definitely the first bit. Summer should stick around a little longer. There's so much more that I want to do that I haven't done yet. But I'm also seeing that, like the garden, I've been taking care of my mother-in-law's garden. And so I've already been picking things out of there. And Lughnasadh is that first harvest. So it's not quite fall when it's like the full harvest of things. But it's just that nice little reminder that things are starting to take form, be ready to be harvested. And as far as everyday life, we're still having fun and getting out and going swimming and all of that fun stuff. But there's also that reminder we got to get ready for back to school pretty soon, sooner than we probably like.
I love that. That is so perfect how you're noticing the shifts internally, but also externally with the garden. I love that. We don't, we live in Southern California, so it's kind of like just summer all year long. So we don't see the seasons as much as some other parts of the country or world. But that is such a huge part of this holiday, which is celebrated by pagans, Wiccans, anybody who kind of celebrates natural living and the wheel of the year. So it is called, you can see in the title, it's this big long name that starts with an L and you've got a GH in there and you're just like, how do you say this word? So let's start with that. So I really Googled a lot because I'm like, oh my gosh, we can't even do this episode because I can't even say the name of it. And so I have heard it said Lu-NAS-sa. So that's how I've heard it. Or Lammas is another name for it, which I think is a much easier name. So Lammas, Lu-NAS-sa, because it's celebrating the god Lugh, L-U-G-H, or Lu. I'm not sure how you say it. And it is one of those harvest festivals. And there's 3 harvest festivals. So there's this one, Lu-NAS-sa. There's also Mabon, which is the autumn equinox, and then Samhain, which, is a very well-known holiday. I think one of the most well-known ones. So yeah. So I love that this one, because there is much more harvesting to be done, but it is that start of the turn towards winter, towards fall, towards darkness again. It's that last bit of full light. And we actually can start to see the days get a little bit darker and things like that.
Yeah, no, it's not light and
Yes, it is starting to get shorter, darker in the morning. I noticed when I was outside this morning doing my morning yoga, usually it's already light, but I was able to see Jupiter out still, which is so nice to see the
that's
stars a
cool.
little bit as the light is coming up as well.
Yeah, my reminder that we're turning towards fall was that it was 52 this morning. I mean, that won't last. We definitely still have quite a few hot days of summer left, but the fact that it wasn't 80 all night was a reminder.
Absolutely. And so symbolically, on August 1st is when they would cut the first grain of the year, which kind of marked the beginning of this harvest season. And so it's so cool that grains are such an important part of this holiday and celebration because I feel like that's an easy way to kind of, celebrate or honor this with your family or by yourself. You could bake some bread, put your intentions into that bread, different ingredients and things like that. Or if you have things that a garden that you're taking care of and you can use items you've harvested to, make a salad or anything like that, to go with your bread, your fresh baked bread. Or if you can't bake bread or don't want to, that's okay too. You can just go to a local farmer's market or a bakery, even just your local grocery store and get, a fresh baked loaf of bread to kind of celebrate and honor the beginning of the harvest. And like you said, realize that, since the beginning of the astrological year or the beginning of the calendar year, however you want to look, so many things, we have planted the seeds, watched them grow. And now is that time to just kind of sit and enjoy that abundance come to fruition, and really start to, have so much gratitude for what has grown this year already. You still have more to look forward to. It's, not the end of the year yet, but it is a nice time to kind of pause, reflect on what has come to fruition, and really be so grateful for it.
Yeah. And it's a good reminder that it's one of 3 harvest seasons. So there's still time, plenty of
Mm,
time to, you know, adjust as needed, whether
right.
it's, fertilizing a plant or adjusting the actions you're taking towards something you're trying to manifest in your life. Like it's just the beginning of harvest season. So there's still plenty of time to continue to harvest or to continue to adjust, but take time to see what has started to come to fruition now. Have that gratitude for what is starting and know that you can still make some adjustments as needed.
I love that. I really do because I'm kind of one of those all or nothing. Oh, if I get to this point and I see no results, like I'm giving up on it. Forget it. No more. Done. But that's not really, you know, the way to do things because then you never finish anything, and there's still time. This is a whole season, not just one day. And you can celebrate this. This is actually, typically a month-long celebration, celebrated somewhere between mid-July and mid-August. So, if you are not available on August 1st, if you are not, catching this episode, you haven't even heard of this holiday until after, don't worry, you can still honor this as well.
Absolutely. And before we started recording, you were saying it's usually the first full moon, which this year happens to be August 1st, but in other years it could be different times throughout that period since it moves because it's going astrologically versus the, Gregorian calendar.
Absolutely, absolutely. They often did it on the full moon because there would be more light that night, so
Mm.
they were doing their harvesting and then they'd have a big party, a celebration where they would take that first grain, they'd make it into bread. I'm sure they had beverages, maybe grain instead of wine. They would, beer, ale, mead, whatever it is, So enjoy, feast. I mean, I feel like all of the holidays have fire, so, light a
Yep.
bonfire, fertility, and feasting. They kind of all have that in common, so that's a great way to celebrate too. Have a potluck with your friends, have a bonfire, or picnic even.
Yeah. Yeah, those are great ideas. And yeah, like I feel like just the cycle, the wheel of the year, how all of them are feasting and fertility and everything else. It's just a reminder of that is human nature, that is like human life. And you just need those reminders of like why we're here, why we're still going when times get tough. Just to have those like reminders every month or two that we can still have fun and still keep going and still live.
I love that, and it brings the sense of community too around
Yeah.
for you to celebrate as well. And then when, you cut cut the grain. Yeah, it goes into the bread, you have that nutrition, but you also have the seeds, and they would save those seeds from the first grain as well
Yeah.
to plant the next planting season. So it again is just so beautiful how the cycle of life keeps turning. Like you were saying, we keep on going, and also that the wheel keeps on spinning and turning. We're shifting into this season, but that doesn't mean that we can't, look ahead to save some of what has worked well, to plant for next season as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like keeping, I mean, it's not a time to just throw out what we have done before just because we're harvesting something. Like we can still have those habits or patterns or rituals that worked well and use them again and continue on with them.
Yeah. And I think our podcast is kind of a perfect example of this for people. This was something we really planted those seeds, of Stara, and we're working really hard, put a lot of work in that spring season. And then in the summer, we decided that we are going to embrace it, have fun with our family, give ourselves space and time, that this is a whole season. We don't need to just rush to keep producing and putting out episodes, you know what I mean? However, we did want to pause on these important Sabbaths and keep going so that we can continue to give attention, like you were saying at the very beginning. Oh, maybe the podcast hasn't taken off and, you know, gone viral and bloomed so much. But actually, thank goodness, because our lives needed us to be able to give and take with this podcast right now in this moment. Doesn't mean that it's not working. It doesn't mean that we should give up completely, throw in the towel. We just need to attend to it differently. And that's why we're coming back here to do this one pop on quick episode to keep up with it, to keep pouring water onto it. And when it is ready, when it is time, it might need a whole other season where it goes into a winter, gets covered by snow, incubates more, and then blooms into a big tree. Maybe we thought we had flower and we just need more growing time. So,
I love that. We do, in fact, have, it has not blossomed yet, but we do, in fact, have a plant for the podcast. And I planted it during the early Sabbats and watered it and then got a little sidetracked. ADHD brain, forgot about it. So I killed it. And then I was walking by it one day and I was like, huh, seems like it's still pretty green and it's got some new leaves on it. So I gave it a
oh,
little
wow.
extra love, put some more soil in there, some more fertilizer, some water, and it's carrying on. It's still growing. So we still have a podcast flower that we planted our intentions with earlier in the year.
I love that so much. It's so perfect. And I think
Exactly.
it's real life. Not every project you have is going to take just a linear growth pattern. Sometimes, things have cycles.
Absolutely. Everything has a cycle. It's just a
Yeah.
matter of whether you're like what part of the cycle has the most focus and what part of the
Mhm.
cycle has it just, kind of hibernating in the corner.
Absolutely. And I think that it's important not to push things. You know what I mean? To let life guide us. Right now you're focusing a lot more on, your jewelry and things like that. And that's where life is guiding you. And that has been great. And, life has needed me to focus more on my family right now. And so I think it really just is beautiful to be open to what the universe is trying to guide you towards. And also, our whole podcast has been about embracing the magic, embracing seasonal and natural living. And I think that, that's what we're doing. We wouldn't be true and authentic if we ourselves weren't living this way and honoring the seasons in our own lives. And I have a feeling that come winter, when we have a lot of time inside, maybe with not as much to do, maybe we'll be producing more podcast episodes more regularly again.
Exactly. Like in that time where everything just kind of slows down, like you want that community more to have those conversations more to remember that you won't be stuck in the house. I mean, you'll be
Yes.
fine, but I'll be over here
Right.
stuck in my house because of, it's 40 below. So it's
Totally.
nice to have that space or that connection, that community reminder. But yeah, it's nice to, I mean, this is a podcast for witches and pagans. So, like, why would we be pushing to get an episode out every single week, regardless of how we felt? Like, yeah, like you said, it wouldn't be authentic if we
Mhm.
were following what everyone else was doing and ignoring our own internal like rhythm and our own
Exactly.
spiritual rhythm.
Right. Conforming to the clock is absolutely against everything we've been sharing. So why would we go by this calendar date? Well, it's Tuesday. We got to release another episode. And then season 2 has to start on this date. It just, we talked about it and you're not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. We're like, well, guess what? Who's the boss? We are, and that is the
Exactly.
beauty of this. But we also do want to provide good content to our listeners and not just put out whatever. And so we want to focus on these Sabbaths, and we didn't want to let Lu-NAS-sa go by without giving our listeners some practical tips, some practical ways to bring more magic into their daily life. And to be honest, this is one that I've never celebrated. I've been honoring the wheel of the year, but when you drew your beautiful Wheel of the Year printable, which by the way is still free on our website, go ahead and go click, it's in the show notes, our website, and click the downloads tab, and the Wheel of the Year printable will be there, as well as some other goodies as well. So check that out. And you can print out the wheel, and it has an illustration of, exactly the 8 Sabbats. And I didn't really even know this one existed, but it is because, you hear about the summer solstice, you hear about the, equinox, fall equinox, but there is that cross quarter day, and that's one of the ones that this is. You have your wheel there. What is
Mhm.
opposite of it?
And bulk. So how we started the
Imbolc.
year.
Right. Oh, wow. That is amazing. This is opposite in bulk. And also, if we have any Southern Hemisphere listeners, which I believe based on our analytics, we might have a few, you would be actually celebrating in bulk right now. But I feel like as we've discovered with the winter solstice and the summer solstice in our last episode, it really, they embody the opposite characteristics of each other because it is that balance, that wheel. And so I'm sure if we look at Imbolc, it's kind of the flip side of Lunasa.
Yeah, because at Imbolc, we were setting intentions and desires for the
Mhm.
year. And so now we're starting to see we're those. And so it's that
Right.
balance of starting it and seeing the results.
That's so perfect. That is so
Yeah.
perfect. And we had talked about how the Celtic calendar starts it the day before. And at sunset, so, like, whatever their day starts sunset the day before. So, on Lammas Eve or Lughnasadh Eve, the night before, which is July 31st, many people, an easy way to celebrate this holiday or honor this holiday is to leave out offerings for the fae, for the fairies. And so those, since the fairies are often active in the evening hours, as we saw on Midsummer's Eve and different, eves, the fairies and the fae always come out. And so you leave them offerings and thanks for, blessing the harvest and the grains as well. You can also, I've seen, make like little corn dolls, or if you have bread and you break it into 4 quarters and leave one at each direction of your property, it kind of again asks for protection as well as blessing the harvest to be abundant and fruitful. So I think that the things that you want to do ritually or, for your practice for honoring this to kind of help you manifest a very abundant harvest season. It's also interesting, I wanted to bring up that on August 8th, which is just a week after Lughnasadh, we have 8/8, which is the Lion's Gate portal, which is a excellent time for manifesting abundance. So I feel like you can just start that with Lughnasadh, the little rituals to be grateful. I think gratefulness is so huge in bringing in more abundance. The more you see that you have and really express true gratitude for what you do have, the more you open energetically for more abundance to come in. So you do little rituals. You can use crystals at this time. Citrine, I think, is really good. It's also got that yellow color. Yellows, oranges, golds, those are kind of the colors of Lunasa and also of abundance and fire. And so I feel like, using colors like that in crystals, carnelian, peridot, all of those kinds of, you could get green because the grain turns, green to yellow, it's that transition. And so I think that, doing that, you could decorate your altar with these items. You can make a simmer pot. I love my simmer pots. But, some good things would be things you could harvest. Blueberries and blackberries are big at this time as well. We don't have that much stuff here. I have to go pay to go to a farm to pick blueberries, which we did. But, I know that's city girl lifestyle. But if you got stuff, go pick it.
We do. Yeah, all along our driveway is blueberry bushes, so
Oh,
anytime we go for a walk, we come back and we pick snacks along the way.
that's so great. I love that.
Yeah, and I'll probably
You
go
sh-
to the farmer's market too because there's a woman there that's starting her own business baking bread. So like I can
Ooh,
support small business startup and I can also get bread without having to make it myself.
that sounds fantastic. I'm gonna link a few recipes, bread recipes that I
Okay.
found. We'll drop them in the show notes. I don't know that I'm gonna make bread. I might do I might go to. But, you know, whatever you do, you can if you do have like blueberries, you can make a pie too. And I saw that you can even inscribe like protection or wealth runes or sigils in your pie or your bread, which is
That
another
would
way
be
to,
really cool.
added intention there.
Yeah.
Corn is another big thing for this harvest season. And so this is where I feel like you can make things as fun and not so witchy as you like, with your kids. You could just make a bowl of popcorn and have a movie night, you know what I mean? And enjoy each other's company. And that can be it. If that's all the time you have, if that's all, you want to, if you're still a little bit in the broom closet and don't want to, dance around the bonfire, throwing your intentions in on bay leaves, you can just make some popcorn, thank the earth for the bountiful harvest and, the fact that we have grocery stores and microwave popcorn, and be grateful. Or
I
you
love
can
that.
go,
Yes.
make a full on simmer pot, light a candle, do rituals, carve runes, there's just a whole wide range. And it depends
Oh
on your
yeah.
own private practice, how out you are into the world, and just how much time you have this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And regardless of how we celebrate it, you can celebrate your own way. Like these are just ideas and suggestions and things we've done or want to do,
Mhm.
and of course it depends on your place in the world too. Like things are starting to grow here, but I wouldn't be able to go harvest some corn.
Okay.
Like that's not ready yet, or sunflowers or
Oh,
anything like
really?
that. Like those aren't ready yet.
See, and
But
I have no idea because corn is always available. It's been like all summer in my grocery store. So I'm like, oh,
of
corn
course,
season, it's summer. But I have no idea because I don't live near a farm, And
yeah.
so, wow, that's so interesting. But is wheat? ready? Is it one of the first things that becomes ready? Because it seems like wheat is a very big focus here.
I don't know too much about that. I don't have
Well,
anyone that I know of growing wheat, so
okay,
I couldn't tell you,
okay.
but I'm
Well,
sure in a like central part of the country
mhm,
where that is the common crop, I'm sure the people
yeah,
in that area, pagans and Wiccans in that area,
yes,
witches, they probably know exactly when that's going to be ready.
right. The bread bowl. I think it
Yes.
probably is. I mean, I've read so
Yeah.
much about, yeah, a little bit about corn, but mostly it's been about wheat and grain. And so, yeah. I mean, really, any holiday that centers around bread, sign me up.
Yeah, exactly. It's great.
More bread. It's delicious. It's great. And you know what? I also read this little tidbit I just loved. In some communities, they will, do like different covens will get together a coven and they will bake bread together where they pass the bread
Oh,
around and everyone gets to knead the bread and put their own, intention and positive energy and blessing into the bread and it just kind of and then they all share it after it's, baked
that's
together.
really
And I
cool
just thought that
too.
was
I mean, me
cool.
that could be another family thing too, if you
Oh
don't have a
yeah.
coven, but you do have kids.
Good
You
idea.
could
I
tell
mean,
them to
why else
go.
do you have kids? Your own coven.
Sure.
Yeah. I love it.
But I mean, that's a good place for them to just hit some bread, get out some frustration, and put in some good intentions.
Yeah. And I homeschool, so I've already got, like, a math and a science lesson in there too, measuring and dough rising and, adding and subtracting the times, temperatures. Perfect.
Perfect. There you go.
And this I found this, like, just real simple, like, Lammas loaf blessing, which was kind of neat, and you could do that with kids too. It says, "From the fields, through the stones, because they grind it, into the fire, Lu-NAS-sa bread. As the wheel turns, may all be fed. Goddess bless." And that was it. It was just a little saying you could do with your kids as you bake the bread.
Cool. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we've talked about so much. Was there
Yeah.
anything else that you wanted to discuss with the
I think that was it. I mean, I feel like that was a good our early harvest episode. So if anyone wants to share what they plan to do or have done before for Lunasa, let us know. And we'd also love to hear questions, comments, so that when we are back in weekly or bi-weekly episode mode, we can answer your questions on the show and do card readings for you on the show as well.
Absolutely. It was so great to get back together with you, Ash, and I can't wait until next time.
Me either. It's gonna be great.
All right, take care. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Your Magical Life. We hope you enjoyed it. Drop a comment and let us know what you liked and what you'd like to see more of.
We love hearing from our listeners and featuring your most requested topics in our Q&A section. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow, and don't forget to check the show notes for bonus content.
Send us your stories, questions, and comments to magicallifepod@gmail.com.
And we'll see you next time as we continue to explore, create, and manifest more magic into our daily lives.
Until then, I'm Crystal.
And I'm Ash. Take care and keep making magic.